Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how I acquired these bad boys. Alright guys, welcome back to Holly Ridge Outdoors. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different for you guys. I wanted to go back and reflect on our yearly rut hunt in Ohio. So going back a couple months, it is now January of 2021. I want to talk about the 2020 Ohio rut. So Heath and myself, we've been going on this hunt together for the past 3 years now. Him and his dad have been doing this hunt for several years. Heath has killed some awesome bucks in Ohio. He's got a 154 and I think 4/8 and a 160 up in the county that we hunt in Ohio over the last 4 or 5 years. So it's been very, very great place for him to go hunt. But leading up to it, I went for the first time 3 years ago simply as a cameraman. I do a lot of the editing and photo work that you see on Holly Ridge Instagram and on YouTube. But regardless, I went up there to film 3 years ago, and then I got the opportunity. We got a lease in Ohio, and I got the opportunity to do a little bit of hunting myself. So I've been, the last 2 years, I've come home empty-handed, nothing but a $300 tag in my pocket, which is very hard to swallow. I've never killed a giant buck before. I've normally always just hunted here in Northeast Tennessee, and there's just not, I don't have a good big farm. I've got a small farm here, and I just never had the opportunity to take a big buck. So told Heath, I said 8-pointer better. It's down, it's mine. I'm not too big or too bad to pass on a good deer. So 8-pointer better, it's in the bag for me. Skip forward to this year. We go up on November the 5th, I believe. We drove up on November 4th, and we planned on a 10-day hunt. So we got excited about it. You guys have probably seen some of those videos. We've got a couple posted up on the leading up to the rut in Ohio and actually hunting in Ohio. Got up there day number 1, super excited. We've been putting corn out best we can. This is about 5 hours away from us, but we've been putting some corn out in our feeders, and we'd had a couple deer on our lease that were pretty good bucks. Heath wasn't sure if he was shooting them or not. Like I said, he's killed some big deer, so Heath's always looking to step up the bar and hopefully kill a bigger buck than he did the year before. Myself, we had a couple bucks on camera that they come by me. I was, given the opportunity, I'm drawing back on them. So anyways, we get there and we check our cameras. We had complete just terrible issues with our trail cameras all year. They just didn't want to seem to work properly. But we get there morning 1. I don't think I had a whole lot of action. It was super, super hot. We were looking at 80 to 84 degree temperatures for the first several days of our Ohio hunt. So, you're talking the second week in November, 80, 84 degrees. It's almost a deal breaker. All the deer activity is happening at nighttime. Those bucks and does, they're just not running rampant like you want them to be. Second week of November, you expect them to be blowing snot and it be colder than you know what out there, but it just wasn't this year. So we had that fighting against us. But I believe it was morning number 2. Heath had been seeing all kinds of action up on the ridge on the other side of the property from me, and I just hadn't seen anything. I'd seen a couple little spikes, and that was it. Some turkey. So morning number 2, I have about 50 birds flying off the roost behind me, and they work the ridge line down beside of me, gobbling, strutting, awesome looking stuff. And then throughout the day, those birds come to the corn several times actually. And I remember the next morning, I roosted the birds the night before right back behind me, and I remember the next morning those turkeys come from in front of me and walk the ridge right beside of me about 50 yards up ridge, and they circle behind me, and I turn around in my stand and I watch them come down the ridge about 50 yards behind me. I watch them jump right down on the shelf that I'm sitting on, and I think, okay, well, great, turkeys have come by hoping to see a deer. And I stood there just a couple minutes. Thought, well, I'm going to turn around, sit down, let things chill out. Hopefully a deer will come by. So I turn around, I sit down in my stand, and what do you know? Just a matter of a minute or two later, I hear something back behind me. I thought, well, here comes those freaking turkeys back to my corn again. So I sat there another few seconds, and I thought, wait a minute. That does not sound like a turkey. And about that time, I hear something crushing through the leaves right behind my tree stand. I turn around and look, and what do you know? It's freaking MJ, a buck that we had been getting pictures of as a nice buck, probably a 150-inch deer, is within 10 yards of me. And here I am, kind of turned sideways, trying not to freak out, number one. This is the biggest deer I've ever seen on hoof in my days of hunting, and he's 10 yards away from me, mind you that. And I'm thinking, okay, well, hopefully he'll come right by me and come down, check the mock scrape I got, maybe whatever. Just need him to get by me where I can reach around over back to my left and get my bow. So I'm sitting there and I look, and the buck doesn't come down the way I want, which most mature deer don't. He skirts around at about 15 yards and kind of goes up this little embankment, I guess you would call it. And he's not eye level, but he's not shy from being eye level. He's probably about 10 foot lower than I am, 15 yards away. And it was a cooler in the morning, I should say. And I don't know if he seen me or if he seen my breath coming out, because the sunlight was hitting through, and you could see I could see my own breath. But I try to reach over and get my bow, and I'm trying to get my camera moved around and get him on footage. And he spots me, sees me, he knows something's not right, and he kind of bounds off. And when he does, I try to stand up and get the camera on him. And by this time, he knows something's not right, and he kind of bounds off and blows a time or two, but he's not running. So I don't think he knew it was me. I just think he knew something wasn't right. And he kind of bounds up the hill and goes up the ridge and over. Fortunately, right towards Heath. So, well, anyways, push come to shove. Later that morning, the deer goes next property over. Neighbors shoot him. Boom. Come out of the woods at night. Dude tells us that the nice buck has just been killed right across the fence from us, and it ended up being the neighboring guys that hunt. And it's a bummer to us, but I'm happy for them. It's a great buck. The guy's dad shot it, probably the biggest deer this guy had ever shot in his life. So I was happy for them. It just sucks that I wasn't able to capitalize that morning. Anyways, fast forward, we had some tough hunting for a few days. We sat all day for days on end, just sweated it out. It was chilly in the mornings, but it was 80 degrees or higher by the time 1, 2 o'clock rolled around. So we're sitting in the stand basically in our boxers at this point, and it was tough hunting. So we start getting some deer pictures on our other farm that we hunt in Ohio, which is literally just a couple miles away by the way the crow flies. So Heath decides he's going to make the move over there, and he's going to dedicate his time to start hunting. When this happens, I asked Heath, you know, hey, I'm going to go up to your stand. It just produces better than where my setup is for whatever reason. I'm going to move up to your stand since you're going to hunt the other properties. So we make the move. Heath gets over there and he immediately starts seeing deer. He immediately starts seeing this great little 8-pointer that we've been getting on camera for the past 3 or 4 weeks. He's been showing up consistently day in and day out. And almost immediately Heath gets him in day number 1, set number 1. And here I am, haven't seen a deer. It's just my luck, you know, just my luck. I haven't even seen a deer. Heath's had nonstop action at this spot. I'm barely seeing anything. But Heath comes in, and night number 1, he says, yeah, I had a pretty good deer come by, 8-pointer, and he said, it's tough not to shoot. Pulls up footage, and I look at him like, dude, there is no way I'm letting a symmetrical, pretty 8-pointer like that walk. Not a real mature deer, but I'm not letting that deer walk. You gotta keep in mind, I haven't shot a big buck in my life. Killed a bunch of does, never had a big buck. So, anyways, the next few days transpire, and Heath keeps seeing deer. He's just not seeing the caliber deer that he wants to take, and I'm not seeing anything. Just a little bit here, a little bit there. Moving forward, we had some torrential downpours one morning, so we didn't get to go out and hunt. And the day before that, I about got stuck on the other side of the creek. Anyways, long story short, I was barefooted walking through the creek at 45 degrees. There's the creek. Normally it's about 2 inches deep. I don't have my rubber boots on because they have little holes in them. So we're going to barefoot this thing. I don't know how deep it is. We're going to find out. This is not good. This is not good. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're in here, boys. We in here. Woo! Anyways, November the 12th, Heath, he connects with a giant. He said he's sitting there, he's got deer surrounding all over him, and looks up and there's a doe, and he could tell she's in heat. You know, they start flicking their tail a certain way, and you can just look at them and see if they're, you know, they're coming in. And says he looks up, and literally 15 yards behind him steps out the biggest buck he's ever seen in his life. And he's froze. He's got does all around him. They're suspicious, looking dead at him, giving him the head bobs. And here's this giant deer, you know, looking back at it, it's probably a 170, maybe a 180 plus deer. Something that most guys will never even see in their life, much less get a chance at. So anyways, the buck goes back up, kind of gets spooked, walks back up into the wood line out of sight. And Heath's got the camera rolling. Here comes the 8-pointer that he's been seeing consistently. He comes rolling right up out of the creek bottom down below the doe. And obviously the big buck, he's not having it. He wants to make it known that he's with that doe. So he loops back around in front of Heath, probably 75 to 80 yards, and comes down showing this 8-pointer, hey, this is my doe, back off. As you guys seen from the footage, if you've watched our last video, if not, we'll link it below. The doe starts walking back up toward the wood line, and of course the big buck is going to follow her. So Heath has a tough decision to make. This buck is at 50 yards minimum, and it's now or never. You know, the doe may have brought the buck back by. It's one of those things you don't know until it happens. But Heath draws back and he lets one fly at this giant buck at 50 yards. Gets down, the arrow's covered in blood. Good sign, we thought. Turns out we think there was some deflection after looking at the footage. Hits a limb, and we're pretty sure Heath catches liver on this buck. blood for about 75 yards, and then it stops. Gets a couple dogs out. Long story short, no luck. Get a dog out there, no luck. Can't find the sign, nothing, no blood, no beds, nothing on this buck. So the next day, which was our last full day in Ohio, Heath calls another dog to come out and track for him, and I said, dude, if you don't care, I'm gonna go hunt that stand. While we're here, I'm gonna hunt it last day. Hopefully something happens. Last evening hunt, I should say. Hopefully something happens. He's like, no. He's like, we've been tromping around a lot, you know, as long as you may not see nothing. I said, well, whether I do or whether I don't, let's go. So I'll show you guys the intro to that hunt here. But guys, it is Saturday, November the 14th. Heath shot that big buck out of this tree stand 2 nights ago. We let him sit all night. We got a dog out yesterday morning. Dog wasn't able to locate him. We found some blood about 180 yards up the hill from the shot. So we kind of knew he went that way, but we just couldn't figure out what he did after that. So Heath actually got another guy in, Walter, and brought his Jack Russell in today, and dog went straight to that spot, veered left, went out about 150 yards to the fence line and crossed the fence. So Heath and Walter are gonna go try to get permission to go look on that piece of property. There's some guys hunting over there, so that might, I don't know how that'll go. Hopefully they let them come over and look. We're pretty sure he's laying over there. Regardless, I'm gonna come in here and sit. I done took all my stuff down over on the other property that we hunt. We just went up there today and got all the cameras and all that and got it down. And I'm gonna hunt this evening here. We've been in here stomping around, but Heath and I was in here earlier today, standing right at the corn pile looking at the camera, and a doe and 2 yearling fawns, they walked within 20 yards of us and still didn't know what we was, turned around and walked the other way. So good chance that a doe will bring a buck in here, and if that big 8 comes through that Heath's been seeing, I'll shoot one at him. So we're going to get everything set up here. I'm about done. We're gonna nestle in and hopefully see some deer. If not, I'm gonna pack up tonight. We're gonna hit the road back to Tennessee tomorrow, so hopefully Heath finds his big one, and hopefully I get a chance at one tonight. Stick with me. I didn't have high expectations. I didn't even expect to see a deer, especially after I'm sitting there and I can hear the farmer mowing the top of the property. I don't see him, of course, but he's a few hundred yards away, and I can hear him bush hogging with the tractor. And what do you know, about 4 o'clock, 4:20 maybe, I'm sitting in a wood line 40 yards from a little pasture that cuts up into this piece, and here comes the farmer on his tractor with the bush hog mowing the pasture that I expected deer to come out of. So I kind of start losing hope, and I think, you know, I'm 40 yards from this tractor. I'm not gonna see a thing. He makes one pass and leaves out. He makes another pass, he leaves out, and I can hear him coming back for his 3rd pass, and I hear something break back in behind me, and I look up, and here comes this buck with his antlers tucked to the ground, nose to the ground, and all I see is these antlers coming through the woods on me. And at that point, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a hunter before I'm a self-filmer. Self-filming is one of the toughest things that you can do in the hunting industry. Trying to self-film a whitetail deer hunt is tough. At this point, the last night of the hunt, the biggest deer I've had to take a shot at is coming right at me. I didn't even turn the camera on. The camera was the least of my worries. Buck comes in at 15 yards, and here comes the guy on the farmer on the tractor, and I thought, well, this is it. This is it. He's going to see the tractor and run. Buck stops, looks at the tractor, gives me an opportunity to get my bow, turn around on him. All I need that buck to do is come on about 3 more steps to get out from behind a tree, and I draw back. There's plenty of limbs hanging down, unfortunately. So I'm squatted way down in the tree stand, full draw, and the buck walks out. I mean, perfect 20-yard shot. I knew I was gonna have to try to get below the limbs, and I let it fly. And the first thing I hear is it hits a tree, hits a limb, I should say. I could hear my arrow hit a limb, and then I got a faint thud sound. It didn't sound like it hit body cavity and give that loud pop that you want. It was a thud, hollowy sound. And right then, the buck jumped a little bit over a little runoff coming off of the ridge, and he walks up about, I don't know, probably 20 yards from where I shot him, and stands there, and then literally just walks off. Just stands there for 5 seconds and literally walks off the ridge out of sight. Not in a hurry, just walks. I got sick. I knew I thought I hit it. I knew it wasn't a good hit though. The deer didn't react the way that a double lunged or a heart shot deer work, acts. And the deer just didn't sound good. So I give it a few minutes and I climbed down. I went to find my arrow, and sure as the world, I've gut shot him. There's blood on it and I've gut shot him. So I run up and I call my wife and I'm excited and tell her, and then I get a hold of Heath and tell him. We go back in and look at the arrow, and Heath's like, yeah, we need to give this thing some time. So we give the deer all night long, 14 hours, before we go back in to find him. The last day we're fixing to leave to head back home to Tennessee. We get on blood, and we find pretty good blood for, about 200 to 220 yards. The deer went up the top of the ridge, heading toward the other property. And then it starts to rain on us, and the blood stops. I mean, it just stops. Goes nowhere. So we start grid searching, trying to hurry up, trying to look. We had no luck. I mean, just no luck. So not only did Heath shoot a buck that we didn't find, here I am on the last day. I've shot a buck and we don't find him. I was sick. Heath was sick. Number one, we try to be ethical hunters, and you want to shoot them, and you want them to die as soon as possible. Putting a gut shot or a liver shot on one is not something that we're proud of. It's not something we try to do, but unfortunately, being a bow hunter, it happens. So anyways, we go look for Heath's deer one more time after we can't find my deer, and we decide, hey, we've got to get back home. We got to work tomorrow. We got a 5-hour drive. So we leave. November the 15th, we leave and we head home. Fast forward to exactly 2 weeks later. It's a Saturday. Heath and myself are hunting here in northeast Tennessee, and Heath kills a buck. So we go and drag it out, and we go to get the trucks to go down there to load the buck up, and we get a text message from Roger, our buddy in Ohio that we hunt on. He says, is this your buck? Look down, and sure as the world, there's a picture of the 8-pointer that I shot the very last night we were there 2 weeks ago, 14 days prior to this. He says, yeah, that's his buck. I mean, that's his buck. So we call Roger, and he said, well, I'm going to try to go get it. The farmer beside me said he found a deer, wanted to know if it was one of your alls. And he's like, yeah, that's definitely Justin's deer. Where was he at? 40 yards across the fence line. We just didn't cross the fence out of respect, and we didn't know where he was at. But the deer crossed the fence at the creek bottom, and yeah, so here we are now. I wish I'd have got the kill on film, but like I said, I'm a hunter before anything, and I wanted to get an Ohio deer. This is my first Ohio deer. So anyways, Roger was able to go over there and able to at least get the horns off of him. Obviously, the deer was no longer salvageable, the cape or the meat, 14 days later. So he was able to get the horns off for me. And, you know, I checked the deer in as a kill through the state of Ohio. And now I have the deer in my possession. Unfortunately, during transportation, the skull cap did break on me. That's okay though, because our buddy Josh over at Down to Earth Taxidermy is going to he's going to make this thing look like it did the day I shot it. We're going to use the cape from the deer that he killed here in Tennessee, and we're going to mount this bad boy up. It's not a giant by no means, guys, but it is the biggest deer that I've ever killed. It's a perfect symmetrical 8-pointer, which is right up my alley. I like symmetrical, and yeah, I couldn't be more happy. I'm fixing to go drop this thing off here in just a couple days to Couch, and I know he's going to work his magic and he's going to bring my deer back to life for me, so I'm excited about it. It's my first Ohio buck, and it'll be one that I'll never forget, and here soon it'll be hanging up in this office somewhere, and hopefully you guys get to see it in some future videos. So I wanted to make this video to give you guys a little bit of a you know, paint the picture of what happened and the week we got. Tough year. Wish Heath would have found his, but I am thankful that I was able to at least get the horns off of mine. So sometimes it's just how hunting is. It don't always go how you want it to, and most of the time it doesn't go how you want it to. But we're thankful for it. We're going to go back again and make some memories. But appreciate you guys for tuning in for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave us a thumbs up. Leave us a thumbs up if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more content, guys. Remember, keep hunting, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.